So hi everybody, this is the second class to the API testing, and we'll just do little recap of the last session and then we'll start with this session immediately. So please try to keep notes if you have any doubt and ask at the end of the class. So and wherever I'll ask to interact, please unmute yourself and interact with me. Okay, so let's go ahead. What API testing and what we studied in the last class. So in the last class, so we did study what API is, which is an interface. If you read it from the reverse direction, interface used by programs to interact with application, right? We saw a few examples, like real-time examples, like telephone, our power outlet. Okay. Similarly, all these are API. So everything around you, you can treat it as an API, where the user is a human being. Am I right? So now here the user is in web API, the user is the program or software. Okay, so it is API. So we are learning about web APIs, and we saw little description about web services and what it divided into two types, SOAP and REST. And uh, there where we just stopped the last session. So today we'll see in detail. So last class was in a demo class. So today we'll see in detail. So from here your class starts actually. Okay. So in details we'll check exactly what web services is. So you have to understand. So see, there is two aspect to it. Okay, one is going ahead and developing a web service and testing a web service. Okay, so as per my experience, I feel that you should understand exactly what web service is for both the people. It's being a developer, a tester, whoever it is. You should first understand what web service is. Okay, then only you will be able to do justice to your job. Okay, let's just go ahead. So today agenda will be, we'll try to complete web service intro and understanding web service, understanding the SOAP protocol. We'll try to understand the WSDL file. So do not worry, we'll learn everything, what exactly it is and all this stuff. So we'll saw a little demo on understanding the WSDL file. Okay. So and soap your intro. Okay, let's go ahead then without wasting much of the time, because a lot of the stuff here is theory. So just here to my whatever I'm telling, whatever I'm speaking, if you have any doubt, keep it a note. Okay, so just mention the slide number and you can ask at the end of the session. Okay, so if it is very urgent, you can stop me there and there. Okay, so let's go ahead. So last class we learned what web service is, right? So we saw a small definition for that, which is an operation where external application can talk to that particular software program, your web service, and it can get some results, right? So what exactly it is, if you think to understand it, we can tell it as a standard based language agnostic software entity, okay, which accepts the formatted request from a different software entity to a remote machine, which generates a application specific response, and that response is vendor and transport neutral. Okay, so these are the seven main features that a web service carries with himself. Okay, so let's understand everything. It is a standard base, there is a standard. Okay, you cannot just write any request to anyone. Okay, there is a standard to write the request. Exactly how there is a way to, let's say you're working in a company, there is a way you can apply for the leave. Okay, you cannot just call, hey boss, I'm going for a leave. You cannot do that. There is a, every company have their own process to do certain jobs. Similarly, all web services have their own set of rules, own standard to do a request. So it's a standard based. Okay, it doesn't depend on any language or platform or as such. It's language agnostic. So it is a standard based, language agnostic, and formatted request. There is a proper format of the request. So first you have to do this, then you have to mention this thing. Okay, there is a proper sequence of format of the request. Okay, so it is a standard based, language agnostic, formatted request. Language agnostic software entity means it's a software. Web service is nothing but a software or a program. Okay. So developing that program is the job of developer. Testing that program is the job of us testers. Okay. So which accepts the request from a different software entity, because who will use this one, who will use our web service? Not humans, right? Different softwares, different programs. So it will accept the request from different software entity to our remote machine, because this particular web service will be not in everyone's machine. For example, if you remember, we did the calculator in the demo session, right? So there, it is not hosted in your system, it is in a remote machine. Okay. And which gives us a response. Okay, a specific response. If it is addition, it will add. If whatever job it is meant to do, so it will do that. Okay. But it is vendor and transport neutral. It doesn't depends on any vendor side program or anything. What is the client, what is the language they're using, what is the platform they're using, what's the platform uh, we are using in the web service side, doesn't depend on that. It's neutral to that. Okay. So this is for your understanding purpose, so you should have it in mind. So it's nothing but a program. Okay. So we called it APIs. So next is the web service platform and elements. What are the platform it and element it used? So before going ahead, obviously I will not dig into XML and HTTP. Okay. Hypertext transport protocol. So you should have little knowledge on this. Not much it's required. Just a XML is just a text file in a proper format. Okay. And HTTP is a protocol that we use to in network to do transport of different data packets. Okay. So these are the two platforms they use, and elements we use to in web services. And we will also use SOAP, which stands for SOAP, UDDI, and WSDL. These are few elements that we'll use in web services. We'll discuss in detail what exactly it is. So SOAP is the language that we use to um, transfer the request and get the response. We call it as SOAP request and SOAP response. So SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. Okay, this is the acronym for SOAP. The acronym for Simple Object Access Protocol is SOAP. And UDDI is a Universal Description, Discovery, and Integration. That is another UDDI is always used in all API. We'll understand that. Don't worry about that. And WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language. That is the language the API uses to describe itself. Okay. We will understand everything. No need to worry. Okay. So now let's assume. Okay. We have data of a whole of different zip of USA, United States, and we have data of their geographical location with the zip code and the um, temperature and weather information. We have the real-time weather information with us. Okay, so what we did, we hosted in a we have that in a database. Okay, so if we'll give a zip code to it, and it will in return it will tell me what exactly the weather in that particular area. Okay, getting my point? I have those informations. Now I want, my requirement is I want that this information, how I can use it for my benefit. Okay, so what we do, we take help of web service there. So either you can go ahead and sell that whole database, keep giving access to everyone, and in the network it will be very difficult to connect or something like that. Or the easier way is to go and host it in web service, host a web service. Okay. So I want to repeat that web service. Do not get confused between web service and websites. Okay. We will come to know little difference are there. So we hosted it in a server. Okay. And created a web service for it. Let's assume it's a SOAP web service, a SOAP API. Okay. And what we are doing, once we hosted the web service, that means now that web service is open to everyone who, in the world, who is having a system and having internet connection. Okay, they can access your web service, and what they can do, they can send a request in a proper formatted request in a proper format. Okay, and send the zip code to you, and it will come to your server. It will analyze, it will gather the data, it will prepare a response for that particular request, and it will send it back to the client. Okay, so this is how exactly the web service works. So this is just the idea, okay, how it happens in network. Now there can be multiple clients. So now the question comes that the what is the benefit of all these things, of doing that and all, we'll see in some time. Okay, so as I was telling, that web service is not website. So although all this web service, sending packet, receiving it, happens through HTTP protocol. So, and we websites also use the same HTTP to host their websites. Okay, but you need to understand. So websites, mark my words, websites are intended to used by human beings. Okay, all the informations that are hosted in a website, human being directly consume that. Whenever you go to YouTube, what you do, human beings only open it and see some video and get some information. You take example of any websites, so it is intended to, it is designed for the human being so that they can see and get the information for themselves. But information on web services are not for humans. Okay, so it's for whom? So who will take the web service? Can anybody tell me? I'm unmuting everyone. So it is for
Software. Another
softwares. You
software.
are right. You are right. Correct. Right. So it is for another software or another program. Okay. So what they do? So they use this web service. So it's not for humans. Okay. That's the difference number one. And the second difference is websites are related with, it is written in HTML, it is hosted in a browser, browser understand that HTML code and all this stuff. But web service is nowhere related to HTML and browser. Okay, although it depends on HTTP, but it doesn't depends on HTML and your browsers. Okay, so web service are nothing but just simple programs sitting in a particular server. So that remote machine that I was talking, available to everyone across the network, who is having access to internet and all. Okay, so now there are web services for different purpose. You have the weather information, somebody will have the you know the location information, somebody will have the way to a particular location and all this stuff, somebody will have the availability of cabs. Okay, whatever information, there are a lot of it. The world is full of information, and the more information you gathered, you are that much powerful. So the way you share the information, their web service comes into picture, how the way you share the information to the rest of the world. Okay, so what are the benefits of this? If I will share the information, of course the first benefit is you will make huge money. Okay, let's say you have the weather information and some company, so let's say you have the company, you have the weather information. Can you imagine how you gather the weather information of whole of all Jeep postal code? It is very difficult, you know. You have to set up offices in every location. They'll be continuously monitoring the weather, they'll observing the humidity, getting the temperature, getting the what's the rainfall, snowfall, whatever it is. Okay, so everything they'll be observing continuously. Okay, you put a huge money behind that. Now you want profit out of it. So what you did, you created a web service, you sell it in market and say whoever is using my web service, I am giving it free of cost for 2 months. After that, for each request I'll take $1, for example I'm telling. Okay, and so on. So money. Second thing, let's understand that how it works. What is the benefit of it? As web services uses, what are the elements it uses? One is XML or JSON and HTTP, right? So it is, as it is XML and JSON, which is understandable by any platform. It can be a iOS, it can be a Windows system, it can be Linux, it can be any other operating system. Okay, So all operating system understands XML as well as JSON. Okay. So it is platform independent. Because can you see, imagine a figure that the client that we saw a few minutes back in the previous slide, the client can be in any platform and the client can be written in any language, and here the server can be in any some different platform and some different language, but still the communication will happen because it's just XML sending and receiving, nothing else. Hope that makes sense. Next is language independent, and next is HTTP. So why it is a why I'm putting HTTP in advantage benefits, because this hypertext transport protocol, it is widely used across different websites in different place. HTTP is the primary, okay, protocol that we use across everywhere. So lot of firewalls in all the operating system will never mess with the HTTP protocol, okay, because a lot of things will stop working otherwise. There is few operating system which doesn't allow HTTP protocol, but they are very rare for high security reason. We'll just not discuss about those things, but there's a many big benefit over the other protocols, transport protocols, okay, because HTTP is widely used across the web. It is loosely coupled. What does mean loosely coupled? Means let's say there is a single application. Let's take example of Uber app. Okay, you have Uber app, right? So what Uber app is doing? It is searching availability of cab in your particular GPS coordinate. Okay, and secondly, what it is doing? It is also finding the route. There is a one is a GPS coordinate API it is using, web service. Second, it is finding the route, so Google Map it is using, second web service. Then it is getting the fare, okay, so that will be another web service. So all these web services are different and it is not related to each other. So any change in any web service will not affect any other web service because it is loosely coupled, it is not coupled tightly with each another. So there are and other ways as well to make this work happen. I don't know if you guys have heard about EJBs, okay, Enterprise Java Bean. There is JMS, okay, Java messaging services. So there are MQs. There are a lot of other technology available in market, which also serve the same purpose of sending the message and getting the request and making it process. So there are a lot of difference. Those are tightly coupled. If you change any particular web service, it might affect the other web service as well. But in case of APIs and web service, what we are studying now, these are loosely coupled. So it is making our integration process easy, as well as it is giving us a flexibility of changing and modification of individual component. Okay. So as these things are loosely coupled, you can also think of reusability of those particular web service. Do you think Google Map have their own web service, isn't it? I showed you in that programmable web application. They have their own API. So that API can be used in several different application. It's not designed for a particular application at all. So let's say you have your own API web service for weather forecasting, and are you expecting that it is designed and developed for a particular software, let's say maybe for any particular app in iOS to get the weather? No, everybody can use it. The same web service I can use it in Android, it's the same web service I can use it in iOS, the same web service I can use it in Windows Phone, and so on. Okay, so it can be reused. So these are the few main benefits. There are a lot of benefits. These are the few main benefits that we achieve by using web services. Okay. So let's understand the invocation process of the web service. What exactly you need to, okay, now you says that, okay, I have the web service in place, and now what I need, somebody X comes and he wants the weather information. What is the first thing he need? He knows that I'm unmuting you guys, just a little bit interaction. Okay. um The guy X here, he wants weather information in his web page. So what he needs?
Weather API.
Sorry, Suk?
Is a
He
web.
needs he needs
API.
the address of that web service.
Correct. First thing he needs the web service. Okay, the stuff. So first he needs a idea. Okay, he can use web service. He can go ahead and start putting offices or location also, which is not ideal. He'll spend a lot of money in that, right? So first he need the web service. Okay, which web service meets his requirement. So first he need to figure out his requirement, and he will go and find the web service, right? So he can go. There is. I'm just muting you all. So there are web services which are there to search web service as well. So it is a web service which will serve your web services, whatever you need. Okay. So you can use that also. That's called a contacting web service. So you tell that web service, hey, show me the web service which gives you the weather information. He will give a list of web services. It is not only you who is providing the weather information, right? There will be other people as well. Then it will reply to you and he will get the web service. Now he will choose a particular web service, and after that he needs description of that, right? Okay, I got the web service now. I have the weather web service. The name is, let's say you gave your web service a name ABC API. Okay. Now that ABC API, what that X guy is having, what he will do with that ABC? Now the beauty of web service is it describes itself. Okay. So you have to tell web service, can you describe yourself? And web service will come ahead and it will describe itself in the form of a language which is known as WSDL, known as Web Service Description Language. It is self-descriptive. Okay, you can understand from the name itself that WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language. That means the web service is describing what exactly he is in a language known as WSDL. So it is nothing but a XML file. So we will try to do a demo where we'll understand what is the how to understand the WSDL file. Okay. So I want to point out one thing here, that WSDL file is not meant for human beings. Okay, it is for the consumption by the software who will use it. So if you just give the WSDL path, the other application, the other software entity on the other side, which X is having, will understand how that works and it will take care of everything else. Okay, so yeah, just 1 second. Next is SOAP. So SOAP is the language that web services use here to exchange message. So there is two type of message. One is request, another one is response. So SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. So you're accessing object in the server. Okay, you are accessing different objects, whatever you are passing in the XML in the request. Okay, we'll see that example in some time. So I hope this makes sense, right? How to invoke a web service. So this is the process that you should follow. So after he will get that details, he will integrate that using the WSDL file in his application, and he can just good to go, right? So okay, so WSDL file. So in WSDL file, which is web service description language, there are these 6 primary elements. It is a XML file. These are the 6 primary elements or tags that we use in WSDL file. We'll understand that. So what types is, it tells the data type. The message tell what type of message it is carrying. The port type tell what operation it is doing. The binding says how to send the message over the network. Okay, just 1 second. Yeah, I'll answer that. So okay, I understood. So the binding says how to send the message over the network. The port gives the address of it. Okay, and what type of services we are sending, it's in the service tag. So let's just understand that part. Okay, so you can think, if you have little knowledge on Java, which I'm expecting like you have little knowledge in any programming language. You can think as type as a data type. Okay, like what is a data type? Message as a method. Okay, functions. So if you'll understand in this way, it will be easier for you. Message as a method. Port type as an interface. Okay, means it is the interface through which you will just extend the message. Binding as an encoding scheme, the way you bind the message packets and send it. Port as an URL. Service as many URLs. Okay, lot of URLs as service you are pushing. Port is the URL address of the particular one. So the question is like from Suk is, what is the difference between the WSDL and SOAP? Okay, so SOAP is the one type of web service. Okay, it is a type of web service, and SOAP uses WSDL, a WSDL file, to describe itself. Okay, so the type of web service API is SOAP. So there are other types of web service like REST as well. Okay, so which doesn't use WSDL description. Um, so SOAP is a type of API, and WSDL is the language for that API which describe itself. Okay, so I hope that make you clear. For example, you are going for an interview, and interviewer asks, "Can you describe yourself?" That means you are SOAP, and the stuff what you will tell that myself is this. I have this much experience. I have experience in these things. That is the way, the format that you are referring. That is WSDL. Okay, WSDL. Also, we know, tell it as WSDL file. Okay. Um, Sorry, I didn't get any message. Am I audible to everyone? Okay, okay, great. Fine. So Suk, does that answer your question? I'm unmuting you 1 second.
Yes, it's good.
Okay, great. So let's just note down those things, okay? Unless like you have some question like this which stops you understanding, stop me then and there, okay? You can just unmute and stop. It will be easier for us. So let's go ahead and let's assume it in this way, okay? We will go to a particular WSDL file and understand these things, okay, practically. Just wait for some time. Next is web service addressing. So you have the web service, you have everything. Now the question comes, okay, I have the web service, but where it is located? Okay, that is a very vital question. So it is located in, how to know that? You will get a how to get the location. It is located in a particular location in a particular system which is known as a server. Okay, and to locate that web service, to locate the website, what you use URL, right? You use URL, uniform resource identifier, for uniform resource locator for URL. So for web service, you call this at URI, uniform resource identifier. Both are similar. Okay, so we use URI. It almost looks like a URL. So below is an example you can see in yellow color. So it is a web service address. Don't get confused, it exactly looks like a URL or website address, but instead of, if you hit this URL in your browser, it will not, it will yield a garbage value. Sometimes it will open something different page which doesn't make any sense. Some web service have a good UI, but generally it will not open any UI. It is because it's, this URL is only for the programs to understand, not for humans. Okay, so that this is a address to a particular web service. So using this URI, we will contact to the web service. Okay, that is how we do addressing in web services. So what to expect? Okay, so from next these things we'll just understand the characteristics of web services and what is service oriented architecture, or known as SOA. Okay, from there only, so we'll now understand exactly how web service came into market. What is the reason behind that? We'll see a study. Okay, we'll do a a normal case study, and we'll try to understand why web service people are using. Okay, what is the reason why it started getting used in software industry a lot. Okay, um, let's go ahead. So SOA and web service. So SOA stands for service oriented architecture. So what exactly SOA means? So I'm not going into detail of SOA. It is again vast chapter. Okay, just for understanding the web service, the reason we are let's understand what SOA is. Okay, so SOA is a distinct approach for separating concerns and building business solution utilizing loosely coupled and reusable component. Okay, so little bit missed definition. We'll just understand this. Okay, so what exactly SOA is, service oriented architecture? It is purely designed to solve the business problems. First you have to understand that. Okay, so let's say in a particular application there are in a particular company, um, for example, let's say any guy who is a rich guy, he's having 3 4 company. So and those companies, they are using lot of products. So those products, he wants to merge everything. That's a problem, right? That is a problem for him. If he wants to merge all those products, what you have to do, you have to do a lot of pre-analysis and resource calculations, and the architect the solution to merge everything. Lot of things will be there. We'll see a case study in some time. So to address such issue, this is a one example. There will be different business problem, and for that you need a business solutions. Okay, to solve those concerns, different concerns. Okay, so SOA is a approach. Okay, it's just an approach, nothing else. It's not a software, it's nothing else, it's just an approach. Exactly, there is an approach to design or develop some code in Eclipse. When you write a code, there is a approach to write the code. You can just, the different people will write code differently, right? Those are known as design patterns. So here similarly it is an approach for different concerns, means different problems, and to build their solution. While building the solution, if those solutions are loosely coupled, means not dependent with each other, and those solutions are reusable, okay, then that type of approach is known as SOA, service oriented approach architecture. So in service oriented architecture, whichever companies uses this and build on top of this, that is known as service oriented solutions. Okay, so service oriented solutions are those who uses service oriented approach to solve certain issues in the business area. From here the web service generates actually, because they need an architecture where the solution will be loosely coupled, and the solution is to that is web service. We already saw in web services that web services are loosely coupled, right? So what is the um, benefit you are getting from here? So in service and solid, it is very much flexible. Okay, it is very useful in merging and acquiring new business. The company who are merging, getting merged, or buying new companies, we'll just understand a case study very soon. And it is very much give a competitive advantage on top of your competitor. Okay, okay, so that is what the main advantage of this. Okay, so if you just understand what SOA is nothing but a approach to certain solution, business solutions. That's what you just need to understand. Okay, and that approach should be in such a way that those solutions should be independent with each other, and it should be easier and faster merging between those solutions. Okay, that is what SOA is. And those company who follow this SOA, service oriented architecture, those are known as, those company are working on the principle of service oriented solutions. Okay, so those are, that is a SOS. So where the base is SOA, then we can tell that solution is a service oriented solution. That's all. Okay, in short term. Now let's get into a case study to understand this issue in a proper way. Let's say there is a company, okay, Facebook. I'll take the example of Facebook, who are in the same competing market. I'm just unmuting Rina. Okay. So Rina, can you tell me Facebook, the type of company it is? Who are the
Mhm.
competitor for Facebook?
Facebook, Orkut, then
Where are you? Where Orkut is? Orkut is nowhere in the market now. Who is
and
using Orkut? Tell me one.
Twitter. I had once. I started with that.
Okay.
Twitter and
Twitter,
maybe Instagram,
Instagram, and
uh, to an extent WhatsApp nowadays,
WhatsApp. Then
Viber, and then FaceTime,
FaceTime, Skype. Right. Good.
Skype. Yeah.
So I'm muting you again. So let's now go ahead and being Mark Zuckerberg, we will decide to buy a few of these companies because they are my competitors. Okay. Now what he did, he went ahead and bought WhatsApp, right? So also assume that he went ahead and bought Skype. Now um, there are few of the services, okay, which is provided by Facebook and which are provided by WhatsApp, which are similar, and there are fewer services which are not similar. Okay, some there are unique services are provided by Facebook and some unique services are provided by WhatsApp. Now what he decided to merge everything into one platform. Okay, because everything is one single company now. Okay, now to do so he followed this service oriented architecture. There is two way: either he can go ahead and start migrating everything, writing a different platform code and all this stuff he can do, or he can just follow a SOA architecture, and he will at the end he will get a service oriented solution for it. To do so, what he have to do, he have to use web services. Okay, so whichever services he need to integrate, so he will create a web service for that particular services. For example, if you want to integrate WhatsApp messaging stuff inside Facebook, then he will just create a web service for that, and he will call that web service from his Facebook and vice versa. Or let's say he want to integrate some other feature from Facebook to WhatsApp, he need to just create the same web service in Facebook as well as in WhatsApp, and he can access that. Let's say I can also open the messenger inside WhatsApp. Okay, and I can also open the WhatsApp messages inside Facebook if that flexibility he want to introduce, which is actually not required, but still if they want to introduce, they need to create web service for both this kind of solutions, or what is that technique, and they have to call each other inside that program. That's all, right? So this is a case study of a insurance company what we are going to study here. So a insurance company have multiple benefits. I have listed few here. Customer enrollment and registration. A customer can enroll and register himself. Insurance policy processing, automatically it will get processed. Once the policy is decided and he took the policy, the policy will be in a orchestration mode and it will start getting processed, and every year it will be asking money to you. It will get the interest, it will get invested automatically in some whatever the company wants to invest in. If somebody claim the policy, there should be a process for to do so. The customers, there will be a lot of customer, different type of customers, so those things need to be managed. Accounting need to be managed, and service providers also need to be managed for that particular insurance company. Few company will be providing service, right, to that particular company. So let's say this company have all these things. Okay, and there is one more, let's assume this is company A. Okay, there is one more company um, which do some similar stuff, and he decided to acquire that company. After acquiring, okay, they want to deliver one solution to the market. Okay, so after acquiring, what happens, the customer of company A and the customer of company B become one company. They might change the name or not. Let's say both the company become company A now. Now both the company customers are under one umbrella. But there is a problem here. The problem is the customer who are of company B are getting a little different type of solution, and the customer who are in company A are getting a little different type of solution. Now both the companies which solutions or features are same, that that is not a issue, because all the customers are happy. But once it get merged, then they also want the solution which are unique. They should get those. That means the solution what are in company B, the company A customer should get that as well, and the solution which are in company A, the customer of company B also get that. So for that, what they need to do, they need to merge all the solutions. So software applications, so everybody will come to picture. There will be architecture team who will be dealing with this, and all this stuff will come into picture. And if they want it to do in smooth way, then they have to go find a service oriented solution. Okay, so the answer to that is web services. So they will go ahead and build a web service, and which results in a absolute proper merger between two solutions and all the components. Okay, where you all the stuff will be done using XMLs. Okay, XMLs or JSON files, and the integration overhead will be minimum. Okay, because everything will be created a web service. It is very simple actually. Think of a solution. WhatsApp is now, Facebook have Messenger. If he wants to integrate with WhatsApp, what he needs to do, he just open up the API to the world and say, hey, if you send this XML to me, I will send the result like this. Tell me the user ID password and tell me the some unique ID. I will send you the conversation or the contact details. Okay, simple. Just create a web service. It will hardly take half an hour or 1 hour for a developer to do that. Okay, so much easy it is to integrate. And what is to integrate? Just to send a XML and receive a XML and display in a UI. That's all, right? So this is where, due to this kind of issues, the birth of web service happened, and web service APIs now we are studying SOAP and REST, and all these things comes from that particular one. We will see while studying REST what is the difference between SOAP and REST. REST is exactly not an API, it is an architecture. We'll understand that so in some time. But SOAP is an API, and we'll see that just in our next slide. So what are the building blocks of SOA? To build a SOA, service oriented architecture, we need a web service. So web service, we need to create web services for all the components. Okay, we need a second is the mediation, the like what we will use to build those things. And mediations are nothing but the nodes. Okay, you can think of it as node. Like the point node, that doesn't mean that it is just a point to send the message and the point while you receive. It is not point to point mediation. It's not that simple. It is little critical. Mediation is something like, let's say you need to merge Facebook contacts with WhatsApp contacts. Okay, please stop me if you're not able to understand this. You need to merge Facebook contacts with WhatsApp contacts. Now what do you need to do? You are sending a request of user ID to WhatsApp. Facebook is sending request through a XML. So that is node 1, and it is going to the node of WhatsApp to node B. So will the node B will process, will directly send the reply, or it need to process that? Of course it need to process that. Okay, so what it will do, inside that it will go to the database, it will pick that particular user ID, it will do some queries, it will create a different response XML. Okay, because it have to reply in response XML only, right? So it will create that XML, and it will reply to your request. So there are a lot of other nodes inside the particular web service as well, which you have to visit, which you have to process. So that is mediation. Okay, so going node, the request will go node by, that is mediation. Now don't think that all this activity, like merging of these requests or contacts, everything happens in one web service. It's not easy. Okay, if you do it in one web services, then it will be very big and very lengthy, and it will be very difficult to understand. So certain activity happens with multiple web services. Remember, web services are loosely coupled. So the more number of web service you create, the more easy it is to integrate with each other, right? If you want to integrate Google Map, you might need to call 2 3 web services in your application. Okay, so similarly, if you want to integrate Facebook contacts with WhatsApp contacts, it's not like everything will happen in one web service. There will be a web service in Facebook side, there will be web service in WhatsApp side, maybe 2 3 web service intermediate will be working. Okay, so it is a composition of multiple web services. Okay, it doesn't happen in one web services. Okay, so this is the building blocks of service oriented architecture. So service oriented architecture or web services uses a language which is a messaging standard known as SOAP. Okay, service object access protocol. This is a protocol or messaging standard used in web service, one type of. Okay, that is REST, another example. This is maintained and organized by World Wide Web. Okay, recognized by World Wide Web. SOAP. So let's understand this simple object access protocol, how it is done and everything. So SOAP is nothing but SOAP follows XML. It doesn't use JSON and all. It uses only XML to interact between the web services. Okay, so if we'll understand that XML and how it interacts, we'll be able to understand the SOAP feature from a tester perspective. I'm not going into the developer perspective details because that is not what we are going to do. Okay, so let's understand what are the SOAP request. There is two things, two stuff what SOAP deals with. One is SOAP request, another is SOAP response. So let's understand the request part. um, how does the request looks like? So the request is embedded inside element known as envelope. Okay, so there is a SOAP envelope, that is the request, which envelope holds everything. There is a optional part header and a mandatory part body to that particular request. This is a request. How SOAP request looks like, it's like that. The envelope is mandatory, which is encapsulates the header and body, where header is optional and body is mandatory. Okay, what you are writing in body is exactly asking the other web service what you want. That is what you will write inside a body. If you want all the contacts, you will write the I need the contacts inside the body in a proper formatted way. We will see the example, then you will be able to understand that. And in header we write security policy, metadata, username, password. It is of course it is optional, header is optional, but if header is there, which in most of the web service they'll use header for because of customers user ID, password and all this stuff. Okay, if header is there, header will always be mentioned before body, so body always follows header. Okay, so in header what we mention, security tag will be there, user ID, password will be there, address information will be there. Okay, and reliable messaging there, what type of message you are sending, what is the type of the message, all this stuff will be mentioned over there. Okay, so basically just understand that header is for security purpose. Okay, to validate if the customer who is querying is proper or not. For example, you are booking flight, okay, in Expedia, so or booking hotel. So if Expedia is contacting that hotel API and booking it, think of if they will be not validating the, you know, customer Expedia's user ID and password, then anyone can just go ahead and call that web service, right? Then anyone can book it. So that will be a problem for them, right? So they definitely need a header. And the alternative to SOAP is REST, which is lightweight than SOAP, and REST is more open. We'll understand REST in the while understanding REST. We'll study about REST more. And alternative to XML is JSON, which we'll use in REST. Okay, JSON we cannot use in SOAP. We will see what JSON is in future lectures. Okay. So as I was telling, we'll talk about WSDL file. First, let's understand WSDL file, which is SOAP uses to describe itself. Okay, what exactly the web service is. So it is nothing but a language. they call it as language for that program who is using that particular API. I'm repeating, it is a language which is describe itself for the program which uses that particular API. Okay, this is not a language for human being, so it's not designed to understand by human being, but still we will try to understand that. Okay, so let's see a small demo of how exactly this WSDL file is. So let's see a small demo of that right now. Okay, we will go to calculator application. Okay, web service. This is the calculator web service, and this is the description for that. If you click that, this is the WSDL file, right? Can you see the URI to that? This is the WSDL file. This is the location, and what we need to do, we need to understand this WSDL file. So I again repeat, this WSDL file is not meant to for human consumption. It is only for softwares, and software will consume this WSDL file and understand the language, and it will do the needful, and it will create what type of request, and it will also understand what is the response type and all these things. Okay, so let's now go ahead and understand this WSDL file. So for betterment, I'm just copying it to this one. Okay, the same WSDL file. So to understand the WSDL file, it is always go from bottom up approach. I will tell you why, because it is easier. So the last part, let's go to our WSDL stuff where it was. Huh. Last is services, right? So as you can see here, this is service tag, right? So what it tells two things. One thing is what type of service it is providing, name of the service, and it also tells where it is located. So you can see the name of the service is, there are two services it is providing. One is calculator soap, another one is calculator soap 1.2, version 1.2, and version, you can tell first version. Okay, and this is located in this particular location. This is the address to the web service. Okay, this is what the locator do. It exactly looks like a URL, but it's not an URL, it's a web service. So this is the web service. So this web service have a UI. There, when you are hitting the web service, you are seeing this user interface, and it's telling what it exactly does and all. But lot of web service will not have that. All the enterprise web service will never have a UI. This is a generic web service which everybody use for example purpose. That is why you are seeing a UI. Otherwise, all web service will not have UI at all. Okay. So next, from here you have to track up. If you want to see where is this port is, sorry, this particular service is, you have to see the bindings. Okay, calculator soap. So this is what, this is not calculator soap. What is this? This is calculator soap 1.2, but I want calculator soap, right? So let's understand calculator soap. Here it is, name is calculator soap. This is inside the binding tag, you can see here, right? And here it is telling exactly what is the type of this binding. What is the type of this binding? You can find the data type from this type tag, which is TNS calculator soap again. And you can find that what here again, it's not described exactly what is the operation. It is telling what type of transport it will use. This is the schema what it will use to transport the data. So always a lot of people get confused in these binding tags. Okay, so just for your information, this is the tag where your XML or your message gets bind with SOAP API. Okay, other till then it was not binded with your SOAP API. Here it tells that this is the transfer media, and this is the calculator SOAP. It will get the data of request and response from above tags like port type, message, and types, and binding will bind that with port and services. Getting my point? Two part to it. Service, message, port type will tell all the details of the request, and binding will bind that with a particular SOAP API, and the address and all the services will get it from port and services. There is two section to it. Okay, two is still. So try to understand that. So let's go ahead and see what type of this is message is calculator SOAP that you will get inside the port type, or what are the operations available for that type of API. So the port type is calculator SOAP, and calculator SOAP port type, what port type says, port type, what is port type? If you see here, port type is nothing but, where is that, here, port type is nothing but an interface. Okay, and it tells us what are the operations available. So what are the operations inside this port type? You can see tag here to here, name is calculator SOAP, and it is providing add. And what add is doing, add is taking two things, input, and input message should have add SOAP in, and output message should have add SOAP out. Okay, we'll have also a description of what the message should look like. Again, it is pretty much generic. It is not telling how the message is. It's just telling the input message should is like this, the output message is this one. It is not telling what is the message should look like. Okay, similarly, subtract operation should have subtract SOAP in, subtract SOAP out. Similarly for multiply and divide. Now if I want to understand what is the input message add SOAP in, I have to go to again up, that is my message tag. Okay, and you can see here in message tag add SOAP in is there. Okay, here add SOAP in, and if you see add SOAP in is referring to the type add. So find the type add in type tag. This is type tag, type starts here and ends here, right? Can you see that? Inside that add will be there, just search it. This is add starts here and ends here. You can see inside that it is telling what is the type. It is the integer. It accepts two integer, int A and int B. Okay, type is sint. And if you want to see the next one, what is the output is like, just go to that. Output is add SOAP out, right? And go to add SOAP out, where it is. Add SOAP out is add response. So just search add response. Here it is add response, and you can see add response is returns only one result, that is a integer. Okay, so this is how WSDL file you should understand. This is a very simple WSDL file, guys. Okay, so there will be very critical, very difficult WSDL file. This is just a simple example, okay, of a WSDL file. So do not get into this I just went through just for your easy understanding of a WSDL file. Now if I'll add this, I have already showed a demo on calculator, right? In my if you see my video, it is there already. Okay, so this is what the WSDL file understanding part is. Okay, so that is all for today class, guys. Thank you for joining today class. Next class we'll understand the SOAP and introduction to SOAP API and SOAP UI as well. Okay, so thank you for joining today class.